I don't think I really gotten through all the way that I didn't let down, everybody in my family.
It looks like Brittney Griner may have just been hit with a lifetime ban by Adam Silver. The decision comes in the wake of explosive controversy, from racist remarks to a shocking revelation about her gender that's now dominating headlines. I've got the full story. Let's break it down. The explosive allegations. Let me paint you the complete picture of what's been happening behind the scenes, because this story is far more complex and controversial than what you might have seen on your social media feeds. The controversy began to reach its boiling point in July 2025 when several unverified social media posts on X, including from users like @DwaynesRW, July 23, 2025, and at Trampusa1A1, July 29, 2025, claimed that Silver banned Griner for life from the WNBA due to a gender investigation or her alleged comments toward Caitlin Clark during a May 22, 2025, game against the Indiana Fever. These posts, which spread like wildfire across social media platforms, suggested that Silver had finally taken direct action against Griner for what they described as controversial remarks or issues related to her identity. Now, you might be wondering, why would anyone believe these claims without official confirmation? The answer lies in the complex and often controversial relationship between Adam Silver, the WNBA, and Brittney Griner herself. To understand why these rumors gained such traction, we need to dive deep into the background of both figures and the series of events that led to this explosive moment. Adam Silver, who has served as NBA commissioner since February 1, 2014, oversees the WNBA, in which the NBA holds a 42% stake, creates an indirect connection to Griner's career. This means that Silver's decisions on league funding, media policies, and partnerships directly impact WNBA players, including Griner. But it's Silver's handling of various controversies over the years that has created a perfect storm of suspicion and distrust among certain segments of the basketball community. Let's start with Silver's most significant documented interaction with Brittney Griner, and it's one that actually painted him in a positive light, which makes the current controversy even more perplexing. During Griner's detention in Russia from February 17 to December 8, 2022, Silver, alongside WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, played a prominent role in advocating for her release, emphasizing her health and safety. The footage of Griner's arrest in Russia was devastating to watch, and Silver's response at the time seemed genuine and supportive. On May 18, 2022, during the NBA draft lottery, Silver told ESPN's Malika Andrews that he was working side by side with Engelbert to secure Griner's release. He noted that the NBA had engaged with the White House, State Department, hostage negotiators, and private sector entities, following expert advice to avoid an aggressive public stance early on. Silver emphasized at the time that our number one priority is her health and safety and making sure that she gets out of Russia. This was echoed in CNN and NBC reports, highlighting his coordination with government officials. But fast forward to 2025, and we're seeing a completely different narrative emerge, one that suggests this same commissioner who fought for Griner's freedom might now be the one trying to end her career. The plot thickens when we examine what actually happened in 2025 that sparked these lifetime ban rumors. The catalyst appears to be a series of on-court incidents involving Griner, particularly her alleged comments toward Caitlin Clark during a May 22, 2025, game against the Indiana Fever. During this tightly contested game at State Farm Arena, Griner fouled out, a rare occurrence for her, during an 81-76 loss to the Fever. The controversy exploded when television cameras captured her visibly frustrated on the bench, and social media posts, including one from @BubbleBathGirl on May 24, 2025, claimed that Griner mouthed the phrases "trash" and "King white girl" toward Fever rookie Caitlin Clark. These allegations, amplified by conservative commentators like Riley Gaines and Outkick founder Clay Travis, sparked accusations of racism and calls for a WNBA suspension. But here's the crucial detail that makes this entire controversy even more suspicious. No audio evidence confirmed the remarks, and Griner denied making them, stating at a June 15th press interaction, "I remember fouling out, being mad, but not recalling specific words." Former ESPN commentator Jemele Hill defended Griner, noting that the foul was actually on Natasha Howard, not Clark, and criticized the lack of audio clarity. The situation became even more complicated just 2 days later. During a game against the Dallas Wings on May 24, 2025, Griner abruptly left a CBS Sports halftime interview to confront a referee over what she perceived as questionable foul calls in the first half. The incident was captured on video.
BG, right now you have 10 points, 5 rebounds. We see the Atlanta Dream as being very... Right now she's talking to the refs about holding. We're going to send it back to you guys.
Very important.
This outburst led to speculation about a potential fine, typically $200 for swearing at an official, or suspension for unsportsmanlike conduct, though the incident occurred outside live play. Griner apologized during the interview, saying, "Sorry, y'all, but as of July 29, 2025, the WNBA has not confirmed any disciplinary action." Now, here's where Adam Silver's role becomes particularly intriguing and controversial. Despite all this drama surrounding one of the WNBA's most prominent players, Silver has remained conspicuously silent. This silence becomes even more notable when you consider that a report from Outkick on June 6, 2025, claimed the WNBA denied their reporters credentials to cover games involving Griner, particularly those with the Atlanta Dream against the Connecticut Sun, due to her alleged comments toward Caitlin Clark. Outkick argued that this was an attempt to shield Griner from questions about the incident, which they viewed as racially charged. Most significantly, they contacted Silver's office for comment, given the NBA's 42% ownership of the WNBA, but received no response. This lack of response from Silver's office aligns with his reported silence on controversial WNBA matters, but it also fueled speculation about what might be happening behind the scenes. The silence from Silver and the NBA becomes even more suspicious when you consider the pattern of behavior we've seen from the commissioner over the years. Silver has not been shy about making public statements on controversial topics when it suits the league's interests. He's weighed in on everything from political issues to player conduct, often taking strong stances that generate significant media attention. But when it comes to Brittney Griner and the mounting controversies surrounding her in 2025, Silver has been notably absent from the public discourse. This has led to wild speculation, conspiracy theories, and ultimately the viral spread of unverified claims about a lifetime ban that has captivated basketball fans and casual observers alike. The most telling aspect of this entire situation is how quickly and widely the lifetime ban rumors spread. As we go deeper into the story, keep this in mind. This isn't just about one player or one commissioner. It's about power, silence, and how fast rumors become reality online. Adam Silver's refusal to speak up isn't just quiet, it's a vacuum, and the internet's been more than happy to fill it. The hidden history of Silver's controversial decisions. To truly understand the explosive nature of the current Brittney Griner controversy and why the lifetime ban rumors gained such traction, we need to take a deep dive into the hidden history of sanctions in the WNBA and examine Adam Silver's most controversial decisions as commissioner. While the WNBA has never issued lifetime bans, it has handed out some incredibly controversial suspensions that have shaped the league's disciplinary landscape and created the precedents that make current controversies so explosive. Let's start with the most infamous incident in WNBA history. An event so shocking that it's still talked about today and provides crucial context for understanding how the league handles major controversies. The 2008 Sparks Shock Brawl, known as Malice at the Palace 2, is widely regarded as the most infamous incident in WNBA history due to its scale, involving 10 players and one coach. On July 22, 2008, during a nationally televised game at the Palace of Auburn Hills, tensions boiled over with just 4.6 seconds left on the clock. What started as a routine box-out between Sparks rookie Candace Parker and Shock's Plynette Pearson quickly escalated into an all-out brawl that would define how the league handles major disciplinary issues. The incident began when Pearson hip-checked Parker, leading to a fall. Parker pulled Pearson down in retaliation. This escalated into a melee involving punches, shoves, and bench clearing. But the moment that truly shocked the basketball world was when Shock assistant coach Rick Mahorn pushed Sparks' Lisa Leslie to the ground. In response, Sparks' Delisha Milton-Jones punched Mahorn, creating a scene that drew immediate comparisons to the NBA's notorious 2004 Pacers-Pistons brawl at the same venue. The aftermath was swift and decisive. Plynette Pearson received a 4-game suspension, the longest penalty in the incident, for initiating and escalating the fight by throwing punches. Rick Mahorn, the assistant coach who pushed Leslie, was suspended for 2 games, though he insisted he was trying to be a peacemaker. 9 other players received 1-game suspensions each for leaving the bench and engaging in the altercation. What made this incident particularly controversial wasn't just the violence itself, but how the league handled the aftermath. The WNBA staggered the suspensions to ensure teams had at least 8 players available, leading to the bizarre situation where the Detroit Shock had to sign 50-year-old Nancy Lieberman for 1 game just to meet roster requirements. But here's what's really important to understand about this incident and how it relates to our current situation with Brittney Griner. The 2008 brawl established a precedent for how the WNBA handles major controversies, and it revealed the delicate balance the league must maintain between disciplinary action and public public relations. The media coverage of the 2008 brawl was intense and often gendered in troubling ways. Some outlets praised the passion and intensity, with publications like Salon arguing that any publicity is good publicity for a league struggling for attention. But others criticized what they saw as women's sports turning unnecessarily violent, with ESPN's Doris Burke commenting that in her 18 years covering the game, she had never seen anything like this. This brings us to a crucial pattern that we see repeated throughout WNBA disciplinary history, and that provides essential context for understanding the current Griner controversy. The league's decisions are often influenced not just by the severity of the infractions, but by public perception, media coverage, and the broader cultural and political climate surrounding women's sports. Now let's examine some of the most controversial individual suspensions in WNBA history, because these cases reveal important patterns about how the league makes disciplinary decisions and how those decisions are perceived by different segments of the public. The longest suspension in WNBA history belongs to Racuna Williams, who received a 10-game suspension in 2019 for a domestic violence incident involving firearm involvement. On December 6, 2018, Williams allegedly broke into her ex-girlfriend's Florida home, assaulted her, and then threatened a bystander with a gun. The case was controversial not just because of its severity, but because the WNBPA appealed the suspension, arguing the league should wait for criminal resolution, which was ongoing at the time of the suspension. The Williams case is particularly relevant to our current discussion because it highlights how the WNBA handles situations where there are serious allegations but ongoing legal proceedings. The league conducted its own independent investigation, interviewed witnesses, and consulted with domestic violence experts before making its decision. The fact that they moved forward with the suspension despite the ongoing criminal case established an important precedent for how the league handles serious misconduct allegations. But here's where Brittney Griner enters this disciplinary history in a way that many people don't know about. In 2015, Griner and her then-fiancé Glory Johnson were both arrested for domestic violence and received 7-game suspensions each, the longest suspensions in league history at that time. This incident involved a mutual fight at their home in Goodyear, Arizona, with police reports describing thrown objects, bites, and scratches. What made the Griner-Johnson case particularly controversial was the timeline. They were arrested on April 22, 2015, married on May 8th, and then Griner filed for annulment on June 5th, citing fraud and claiming that Johnson had become pregnant via IVF without her knowledge. The personal drama surrounding their relationship played out in public while they were serving their suspensions, creating a media circus that the WNBA had to navigate carefully. In 2019, Griner found herself in disciplinary trouble again. During a Mercury Wings game on August 10, 2019, Griner was involved in an altercation with Christine Anigwe that resulted in a 3-game suspension. What made this incident particularly significant was Griner's reaction to the suspension. She felt the 3-game penalty was unfair compared to the 2-game suspensions given to other players involved, stating, "Should be 3 across the board." But more importantly, Griner threatened to leave the WNBA over the suspension, saying, "Impacts my career, not playing for the W." This threat highlighted the ongoing tensions between star players and league management over disciplinary policies, salary structures, and overall treatment of players. Now let's turn our attention to Adam Silver's role in these disciplinary decisions and his broader approach to handling controversial situations. While Silver doesn't directly make WNBA disciplinary decisions, that's typically handled by WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert. His oversight of the league and his public statements, or lack thereof, carry significant weight. Silver's approach to controversy has been notably inconsistent throughout his tenure as commissioner. In some cases, he's been quick to take strong public stances. When Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling was caught making racist comments in 2014, Silver moved swiftly to ban him for life from the NBA. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Silver made the decisive call to suspend the 2019-20 NBA season, showing strong leadership in a crisis. But when it comes to WNBA controversies, particularly those involving Brittney Griner, Silver's approach has been markedly different. His silence during the 2025 controversies stands in stark contrast to his vocal support during Griner's 2022 detention in Russia. This inconsistency has fueled speculation about his true feelings toward Griner and his commitment to the WNBA as a whole. Here's where things get really interesting and controversial. Silver has been accused of leniency toward players accused of domestic violence or assault, such as Miles Bridges, Jackson Hayes, and Kevin Porter Jr., who faced allegations but received relatively short suspensions or no bans. Critics argue this prioritizes talent over ethics, contrasting with harsher penalties for nonviolent issues like Kyrie Irving's social media posts. This pattern of seemingly inconsistent discipline has created a perfect storm of suspicion and distrust. When fans see NBA players receiving what they perceive as light punishments for serious offenses, audiences. While players like Kyrie Irving face significant consequences for social media posts, it creates questions about Silver's priorities and decision-making process. The situation becomes even more complex when we consider Silver's handling of political and social issues. In 2018, he called President Donald Trump's alleged vulgar remarks about Haiti and African countries discouraging, drawing conservative criticism. He pulled the 2017 NBA All-Star Game from North Carolina over an anti-LGBTQ+ law in 2016, calling it problematic. These political stances have made Silver a polarizing figure among certain segments of the basketball community. Conservative fans and commentators have accused him of injecting politics into sports, while progressive fans have praised his willingness to take stands on social issues. But perhaps the most revealing aspect of Silver's approach to controversy is his handling of the China situation in 2019. When Houston Rockets GM Daryl Morey tweeted support for Hong Kong protesters, Silver initially defended Morey's right to free expression. However, when China responded by suspending partnerships and causing significant financial losses for the NBA, Silver's position became more nuanced, leading to accusations that he prioritized profits over principles. This China controversy established a pattern of Silver making public statements that are carefully calibrated to balance multiple competing interests, legal concerns, financial implications, public relations, and political considerations. His silence on the Griner controversies might be following this same pattern, but in a situation where silence itself becomes controversial. The technical foul suspension system in the WNBA provides another lens through which to examine the league's disciplinary approach. Players receive automatic one-game suspensions after accumulating 7 technical fouls in a season. It was increased to 8 in 2025, with every 2 additional techs adding another game. This system has resulted in some of the most routine suspensions in league history, but it's also created situations where star players miss crucial games due to accumulated minor infractions. Diana Taurasi holds the record for most technical foul suspensions, with at least 6 instances of reaching the 7 technical threshold throughout her career. All this talk about a lifetime ban has dragged the spotlight back to a dark chapter in Griner's life, her time in Russia, an ordeal that shook the entire sports world. To understand why Silver's silence now feels so loud, we need to revisit what actually happened during those 10 long months. The untold details of Griner's detention. While we've looked at the recent controversies and Silver's role, there are still shocking details from Griner's Russian detention and past WNBA sanctions that explain why the 2025 lifetime ban rumors spread and what they reveal about the messy world of discipline in women's pro basketball. Let me take you inside the harrowing reality of what Brittney Griner actually experienced during her 294 days in Russian custody, because the full scope of her ordeal helps explain why her current controversies carry such emotional weight for fans, and why Adam Silver's silence feels so significant to those who supported her during her darkest moments. The conditions Griner endured were far worse than what most people realize. After being handcuffed and brought to a police station, she was locked in a 7x7 cell with a metal bed and a hole in the ground for the toilet.
I had a couple of shirts, a couple of pair of sweats, the shoes on my feet. One of my shirts, I ripped it up, and I used one to clean myself. I used one as my toilet paper, with my dirty hole in the ground with feces all over it. That was the moment where I just felt the dirtiest and like less than human.
What makes it even harder to stomach is the fact that the cannabis cartridges that led to her arrest weren't recreational, they were medical. Griner's explanation reveals the extent of her physical suffering.
My pain is unmatched, honestly. I went to a doctor here in Phoenix, and they prescribed me a medical card after going through a history of my injuries.
When asked how she managed her pain while playing in Russia without the cannabis, her answer was telling. She said,
I mean, there's a lot of icing, wrapping, and taking of medication.
This reveals the physical toll that professional basketball takes on players like Griner, who have played at the highest level for years while dealing with chronic pain and injuries. While opening up about everything she'd endured, Griner also had to face a tougher pill to swallow. People blaming her for what happened? Critics questioned how she could forget cannabis cartridges in her bag, but her response to that was surprisingly simple and painfully relatable.
I would say, have you ever forgot your keys in your car? Left your car running? Have you ever, where's my glasses? They're on top of your head. Where's my phone? Oh, it's in my pocket. It's just so easy to have a mental lapse, Granted, my mental lapse was on a more grand scale, but it doesn't take away from how that can happen.
The timeline of her arrest reveals how quickly her world fell apart. She was told to sign a form written in Russian that she says she couldn't read, and she was left to wait. It was 2 a.m. back in Phoenix when she started reaching out for help. When Griner was finally able to contact her wife and agent, they set her up with a lawyer. When she finally met her Russian lawyer, Alex Bykov, 13 hours after landing in Moscow, the reality of her situation hit her hard.
Yeah, my first question is like, how bad is this? Like, how long? Like, what's the worst case scenario? Tell me right now. Alex told me anywhere in between 10 and 20 years. And I was just like, what? And he was like, it's okay. Like, we're gonna figure this out.
The psychological impact of learning she could face 10 to 20 years in prison was devastating. The moment they took her passport and boarding pass was when she realized she was being detained. This wasn't just a customs issue that could be resolved quickly. This was a life-altering situation that would define the next 10 months of her existence. Even more heartbreaking is her ongoing struggle with guilt and self-blame. When asked about working through the guilt of letting down her family and teams, her answer reveals the deep psychological scars that remain.
I don't think I really gotten through all the way that I didn't let down, everybody in my family. And it was just, I think I'm still trying to get through that part.
This guilt continues to haunt her.
I try to give myself grace. Everybody says give yourself grace. It's so hard for me to do that. At the end of the day, it's my fault, and I let everybody down.
The moment that reveals the true depth of her despair came when Russia invaded Ukraine.
When I found out that the invasion happened, I literally thought I was never coming home. Relations already, kind of tense, and then you add this, the war.
The interview cuts off there, but the implication is clear. Griner contemplated ending it during her darkest moments in Russian detention. This revelation adds a tragic dimension to her story and helps explain why those who supported her during her detention feel so strongly about the current false rumors and attacks on her character. Now, let's shift to examine the broader disciplinary landscape in the WNBA that provides context. For why the lifetime ban rumors seemed plausible to some people, what many fans don't realize is the extensive history of suspensions and sanctions in women's professional basketball, and how these precedents shaped expectations about what might happen to Griner. The league's disciplinary actions are guided by its collective bargaining agreement, CBA, anti-doping policies, and rules on conduct, with suspensions often announced via official WNBA statements. One significant disciplinary precedent involves repeat offenders and escalating penalties. Kara Braxton's case illustrates this perfectly. She received a 2-game suspension for her first DUI in 2007, but when she was arrested for a second DUI in 2009, her suspension escalated to 6 games. This pattern of escalating penalties for repeat offenses established that the WNBA takes a progressively harsher stance on players who have multiple disciplinary issues. Given Griner's own disciplinary history, her 2015 domestic violence suspension and her 2019 fighting suspension, some fans might have viewed the lifetime ban rumors as a logical escalation, especially if they believed the 2025 allegations about racist comments represented a third major disciplinary issue. The most extreme disciplinary case in WNBA history involved a player who many fans have forgotten about, Rhonda Mapp, who received an indefinite suspension in 2003 for violating the league's drug policy after testing positive for a banned substance, reportedly cocaine or similar, effectively ending her WNBA career after 2 years. While not technically a lifetime ban, Mapp's indefinite suspension was the closest thing to a career-ending disciplinary action in league history. The Mapp case established that the WNBA was willing to impose career-ending consequences for serious violations of league policy. This precedent, largely forgotten by casual fans but remembered by those who follow the league closely, might have provided a historical basis for believing that lifetime bans were possible, even though none had ever been officially issued. What's particularly interesting about WNBA disciplinary patterns is how they've evolved over time to address changing social attitudes and legal frameworks. The league's approach to domestic violence cases has become more sophisticated, with mandatory counseling requirements and longer suspensions, reflecting greater understanding of the serious nature of these offenses. Recent disciplinary cases have also revealed the league's struggle to balance player safety, public relations concerns, and competitive integrity. The 2021 case involving Courtney Williams and Crystal Bradford, who were suspended for their involvement in a physical fight outside an Atlanta club, showed how the league handles off-court misconduct that becomes public. The Griner ban rumors gained traction because the WNBA has a history of punishing misconduct, but only after long, careful investigation. allegations. Cases like Rhonda Mapps and Rikuna Williams fed the idea that serious discipline was possible, even if unlikely. But the league doesn't issue lifetime bans via social media leaks. That kind of decision would require extraordinary circumstances and full transparency, which hasn't happened. Griner's actual story, from surviving a brutal Russian detention to returning to dominate with the Atlanta Dream, shows a level of resilience her critics constantly underestimate. The rumors were false, but her talent, strength, and impact are very real.